Oh my gosh, we're back together again. My favorite place to be, the 12-week year. And remember, the 12-week year is a book. This is an accountability group. So, one, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of our accountability group. Now, if you aren't in one now, you can join one. And we have them online, and they happen 4 times, 3 times a year. But there's multiple groups. So last year we had 8 different groups, and they were fabulous, fabulous. So today I'm going to talk about mono tactics, and it's exactly like it sounds, mono one. And it's interesting because you'll see both sides of this coin for me. So one of the reasons that I love accountability group is it breaks people out of mono tactics that they just have always done it one way, right? That the way that they're going to get somewhere is just this one way. It this will break that. And in some cases, it's the only time that they have practiced mono tactics. So I just need you to know what it is and what it does and when it's appropriate, and then identify if this has been a barrier for you or this is perhaps one of the tools that makes you great. So mono tactics are really, really, I wrote down the definition that I have for you, right? It is a strategy or approach that relies on a single method or a technique to achieve a certain goal or an outcome. It involves focusing in on one particular aspect of the situation in order to address it effectively. So a mono tactic we use a lot in creating things because it allows us to really, if I'm focusing in on a mono tactic, I'll give you one just as an example from my own life, right? That I was like, look, I need to just focus on calling all of our existing clients. Mono tactic. Does it need to be any different? I need to do it every day. And I have 400 and some people to call. Get on the phone. And I want to talk to them, right? So that's a mono tactic. How do I connect with 400 people every single year live? Well, I'm going to have to put that on a calendar. I'm going to have to remind people that even though I don't see you, even though I haven't seen you this year, I'm thinking about you, right? So there's a lot there. Number two, we use it a lot of times. I'll use a mono tactic in the 12-week year because it's around utilizing a specific technology. So if you are someone who is learning to do video or you're learning a skill, a mono tactic is going to work really well for you, especially in technology, because it will help you understand a process. If you're trying to learn how to play the piano, you're going to need a mono tactic. You don't need to have a grab down. In the 12-week year, a lot of times people are building a strategy, and that strategy has like a drop down menu of many things that they can do. Some things don't need a drop down menu. Some things really need a mono tactic. Today I'm going to get my 30 days, my 30 minutes on the treadmill. Every day I'm going to get my 30 minutes on the treadmill because it's important that they continue to do the exact same thing every day. When I think about a mono tactic, I use them a lot in business. And I use them a lot in business because it allows me to do some things that, one, it allows me to allocate specific resources. So sometimes it's just to say, Susan at the front desk is going to do this one thing. And Susan at the front desk, one of the things that we had given her was as a mono tactic was to just ask people how they'd heard of us. Right? It's she just wrote just a little scratch note on a piece of paper. How did you hear about us? And we just gave her four choices on a scratch pad, and boy, did that give us a lot of information, right? So sometimes it's really there to just give you that. I made some notes for you on my phone. So allocate dedicated resources. Number 4 is implementing a targeted campaign on something. So sometimes a mono tactic is make sure that I'm just hitting that one target. And that can be used in a marketing campaign, but it can also be any directed. If I got to hit a bullseye, I got to hit a bullseye. I don't need to practice on how to hit on the outside. I need to practice on hitting that bullseye. And that's oftentimes what marketing strategies do, is that if it doesn't hit that bullseye, we're not doing it anymore. So I don't need you to just learn how to do it with more finesse or whatever. No, we got to hit that bullseye. So that is number 4. I numbered these for you. I should have said that. So let's go back. Number 1, focus on a single objective. Number 2, utilize a specific tool or technology. Number 3, allocate to a dedicated resource. I will put these in the comment section. Number 4, implement a targeted campaign. So it's really target, target, target. Number 5, it redefines your priorities. And number 6, streamlines the process. Number 7, establishes clear timelines. Number 8, seeks expert guidance. Number 9, create a detailed action plan. Number 10, regular monitoring. So when we look at a mono tactic, number 5, right, redefine priorities. One of the things that it really is there to say is, what is that this one thing is the most crucial element. If I get this one thing done, I'm in. And so if you were thinking about that, what that one thing is you're going to kind of bring it down to the very base minimum. What is the one thing that you want? So if you've returned an Amazon package lately at the grocery store, that after you get a service, and now we see these, they was so popular, now they're in airports around the world, right? Is, how was your service today? And they're just going to give you 3 faces: sad face, neutral face, happy face. That's all we need. What's the emotion that you felt when you dropped that package off or went to the bathroom in that space, right? That's a mono tactic. That's it. The other thing that they use that for, by the way, is they know that they need to send somebody down to clean the bathrooms when there's 2 unhappy faces at a time. So if they start suddenly seeing unhappy faces, something is wrong. So that's a mono tactic, that technology is going to work a certain way so that they can get that. Number 6, streamlining a process. Oh boy, do I need mono tactics when I'm streamlining a process. So if you are trying to figure something out, like if you run an Etsy shop and you're doing the 12-week year, you're trying to figure out how I take this online order and get it through our hard brick and mortar store, right? How do I get it out the door? That's when mono tactics are really helpful, is to go, let's streamline that process. Let's focus on one aspect at a time. And then it's part of a bigger plan, but we are focused on only one section at a time. How does the order get in? How do we get the order, and what do we do with it then? So it's really breaking it down to those small places. Clear timelines. A lot of times a mono tactic is something that says, look, we have to have this done on this day. So if any of you have worked for anything like aerospace, if you've worked for something that requires you to be on time, if you right, they have a mono tactic. We have to have a launch at this date. So timelines are often a mono tactic, and that's a clear timeline. This will get done by this time. If you've had open enrollment at work, that's a mono tactic. We put a time on it. It's got to be completed by this time. We, as a country, have a mono tactic of the census. How do we count every person in the country? Well, we do it once every 10 years. That's a mono tactic. When you are looking at number 8, it says seek expert advice. One of the things that we often need a mono tactic for is because I need somebody to teach me that one thing. I need to learn one thing. When we are training to be the best in golf, they're training them on one mono tactic, one tiny thing that they can do to make a huge difference. So when I'm looking at that, Right now, we're building a certain kind of business model. Look, I've built business models for 25 years. I've built multi-million-dollar companies with people. I've done multiple million-dollar companies. And guess what? They're not all alike. But when I have to have a guide for some of those things, I need somebody to help me with this one kind. So when I had to build a new business model that I wanted to create social change in, I had to hire a coach that knew how to do that one model, and that was subscription models. So sometimes if you're doing the 12-week year in accountability group and you're doing it to build something very specific, monotactics can really be helpful to you. And they're very efficient. Most people cannot put up with a monotactic. So they need that drop-down menu. And sometimes it's not about the people, it's about the outcome. The outcome just has so many variables in it. Just pick one. Just pick one, but it's a wide scope. When you have a wide scope, you don't have to come into a monotactic. But when you have a really clear scope and a timeline, you're going to need a monotactic. So it is also a detailed plan. What I like about a monotactic is to say, look, I just need to do this, and I can really get into it and make it detailed. And a detailed plan for things like surgery prep, big deal, right? Let's only focus on that one section, or let's focus on the section of when they get home. Now, for those of you who know me personally, my brother runs a hospital system, and the monotactic that they took on was around how to have people transition home. And the minute that they decided that they would take on that 24-hour window of sending people home from the hospital with nursing instructions and nursing on the next day to make sure they understood those instructions, the amount of infections went down by an incredible number. A monotactic is very good when you have a very specific thing that you are trying to get done. So it's focusing in on a single objective, right? But it's also, whoops, my phone is ringing suddenly. It's really being able to create this detailed action plan that's just right in that spot. So if you have something that you really have to work out, a mono is your mono. And then 10, it's really monitoring the feedback. When we are looking at a monotactic, it's really helpful when we're trying to understand information that's coming in. So if I have a monotactic of something coming in, it might be to weigh myself. Simple tactic. It's a really simple tactic. Why don't I weigh myself to see how I'm doing? That's an easy way to review. Why don't I count up the calories of what I'm eating? Why don't I take an hour and say, I'm just going to drink water, right? These are very much ways that we can get information on something and have a way to monitor and give ourselves feedback, because we're only focused on that one number. Now, most people, when they're doing the 12-week year, really are learning the techniques of accountability. So for those of you who have done accountability more than one time, a monotactic is something that's going to be really helpful for you to understand the purpose of, but it's also a way for you to really laser in on something. So an example of a monotactic, very simple, that we had in last month's group, a monotactic was 1,000 words a day. So you have to write 1,000 words a day to finish that book. A monotactic that was appropriate was that she had to call so many people, that she had to go back through her list and say, you have to call 5 people that you've served in the past and just connect with them. And she was trying to have a certain amount of money come in. So a monotactic is what's needed. It's not like, oh, let's do this great big marketing plan and all this other stuff. No. Sometimes you just need to do the one thing and you need to do it every day. And you need to really get used to the fact that while that's boring, it's very, very directed and it's very impactful when you do something over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Repetition is its own kind of magic. So when you are looking at the 12-week year, if you've done a lot of groups with me, it might be time to look at monotactics as another way to brush up your skills. If you are new to the 12-week year, monotactics are sometimes hard to get because you don't want to do the same thing over and over again. Most people really want to habit stack, or they want this other drop-down menu. So one isn't more right than the other. You're just going to find what works for you in those 84 days, because it's 84 days of your time. That every time that we do a 12-week year, it's 84 days. And if 84 days is what you're going to take in one tactic every day, right? 1,000 words a day. It works. You can check it off. In those weekly scorecards, monotactics are really easy to do because you just got to do that thing every single day. And the other thing about the 12-week year is that if you just do 70%, right? That's the C average of the world. If you just are willing to be a C student, you'll always get an A. So that's the other thing about this process in the 12-week year is you don't have to be great. You don't have to be an overachiever. You have to be a C student. And that means doing things every day that lead you to the things that are important to your vision, your view, your dreams. And what ends up happening is that people who learn the concept of monotactics, it's right for some people and some goals. It's not right for all of them. That some of you are going to need to habit stack. Some of you are going to need to expand. Some of you are really not focusing on one big thing. But for those of you who are picking on something that is very specific, that has a timeline, that has places where we have to get a process in, monotactics might really be a helpful tool. So I will put in below kind of the things that we talked about. But the biggest piece that I want you to take away from today is whatever you do in the 12-week accountability group is going to increase your abundance. It's going to give you emotional abundance because you'll feel good about the things that you're getting done. You'll feel good about being in community. You'll feel good about keeping a promise to yourself. And that, to me, is priceless. So today's monotactics, 1 through 10, I'll list them below, and I will see you in class. Now, if I can't get you live in class, or if you can't get in because they always sell out, I'm happy to see you here. So keep going on your goals. They're worthwhile. You're worthwhile. You're worthwhile. It's important for you to know that the things that you want to achieve in your life want you back. They want you to. So every minute that you spend here with me, every minute you spend doing the things that you're supposed to be doing for your own dreams, it's really important work. So thanks for taking it seriously. Have a great day.